Welcome to today's video, where we'll be going through the solutions to week 1 of the UK OSINT Community's Capture the Flag challenges. My name is Joshua Richards, part of the leadership team with UK OSINT Community and founder of OSINT Praxis. I created the challenges for week 1, so hopefully can give you some extra insights into the Capture the Flag. So let's just jump straight into it. I'm logged in here to the CTF platform, so what I see is exactly what you should be seeing at the start of your CTFs. So let's go into challenge number 1, called the artifact. With this one, it basically gives us an image that we then have to go and analyze. Something I would encourage everyone to do is definitely make sure you read through the entire question and any other bits of information provided to you in terms of things like the answer format and any extra guidance, because many people were looking for the actual location of the photo, even though that is in a completely different country to the one it states in the question, because the question states that we're actually looking for a hotel in London. So that narrows down that it isn't about just simply geolocating the photo, it's actually about finding something deeper inside that photo. So one of the methods that you can use to actually uncover the hidden code within the photo is to use a website like Forensically. So with that, if we open up the photo, this is what's provided in the question. You actually don't even have to do anything special here. Just on the default magnifier, if you actually look over the photo, you start to see that there's some hidden words that you can't really see just with your eyes, but you can see as soon as you use some of these extra effects. So we can see a word here that says then, and a dot, number, dot, known. So we have those 3 words, but maybe that's not it. So you can of course keep using different techniques and looking for various other things. With this website, it's really good because you can find things like that, but we can also look down into things like the metadata. Metadata will be a very common one where you find different bits of information. So for example, here we have one that says artist, and there's some kind of riddle. And actually this riddle, the answer to that is red herring. So that hopefully would have led you to know that, okay, this is not the intended solution. That metadata is a red herring. So that's not the path to follow. If we go back, you do have these 3 words. So we'll move on using those 3 words. However, I do just want to show you some other potential ways that this could have been solved. One of the main resources that I really like for this kind of challenge is CyberChef, made by GCHQ. Because in here, there are loads of different things that you can do, but one of those is down under the forensics, where we can go to randomize color palette. And when you use this and you open up the file, you'll see that as this loads, we eventually will get a modified image where it pulls out all of the specific colors within the original image. Let's say that there's a direct full black color, which I forget the hex code of that, maybe it's all zeros or something like that. It will find all pixels which are that exact color and change all of them to a completely different specific color. So here you can see, now with this image, we can see that then, number, and known has been pulled out and changed to a completely different color. That is only because the words are all a consistent color. They were slightly different color to the actual background. So that is what allows them to be pulled out, and now they actually stand out a bit more. And this is completely randomized each time. So actually right now, it doesn't even stand out that well, but sometimes these words could be luminous green versus like a red background and things like that. It really depends on how many different colors are in the original image. So that's a way you can find these kinds of hidden details as well. And then finally, there's a website called Photopia. And if you open up the image in here, you of course have loads of different options here as well, because this website is practically a free online version of Photoshop. And so here you're able to do things like levels and curves, where you're then able to just play around with different lighting, and that allows you to see these words up in the top of the image as well. So many different paths to get to this solution. So now that you have those 3 words, what you had to uncover next is that we needed this website. What 3 words? For many people, this was an instant find because they already knew about this website, and it is very common in capture the flag challenges. But for other people who didn't know about this website, it was actually quite a difficult challenge because if you think about it, you just have 3 words. For people who have never heard of this, it doesn't seem like the kind of thing that would cross your mind, the fact that these 3 random words could actually lead you to a location. So it was challenging for certain people, but nonetheless, they did manage to uncover the website. So if we go here and we type in the 3 words that we had, so here we have then number known. That takes us to this point here, where we have Cove Cannon Street in London, and it is a hotel, which is what the question told us we are looking for. So that makes it very likely that we've took the right path and that we have now found the answer to challenge number 1. The other thing to be aware of here, the answer for these challenges does have to be very specific, so that can be difficult at times. But that's why we've added this answer format, so that if there is ever a space at the end of your answer by mistake, it's a lot easier for you to notice that, rather than you having a space at the end, which of course is invisible, you thinking that you got it wrong, you go down different rabbit holes for hours, and it was all because of an invisible space. So that's why we use things like this special answer format. There we go. So we got this one correct. That now opens us up for challenge number 2, the getaway. So now this challenge is telling us that we've gotten that location correct, and we know that Asset Echo arrived at this location in September 2017, but we have no local CCTV of that. So now we have to go look for any kind of visual evidence or, any kind of visual that might be able to point us to a vehicle that he used on that particular day. So what it's telling us is that we have to go and find a taxi where we can actually uncover the license plate. So if we go to Google Maps and we go to Cove Cannon Street, there's many different ways that you can go about this. Of course, Google might not have been your first stop. You might have gone to look at reviews on Yelp and seen any customers who are posting photos in the hotel. There's loads of different avenues you can go to. But Google Maps is nonetheless the correct path for this particular challenge. So we can go down. This is a really good thing to do. You can, of course, go into the street view and everything, but you can also click on a business or any location and scroll down, and you have this section for photos and videos. So we can see things like latest, where there's ones as recent as 14 days ago. There's videos, all of these different categories. But if you go all the way to the end, you have this one called Street View and 360 degrees. This is something that I only learned about quite recently and was quite shocked that that is there, because that's something that I've often missed. And the incredible thing is that this doesn't just include the 360 degree stuff of a Google Street View car. This is things uploaded by people. So lots of the stuff in their footage actually doesn't seem to be blurred. I don't know how Google handles that, whether they do try to blur as much as they can, but there's definitely a lot of license plates in this footage that they don't get blurred. So it's an incredible source to be aware of. So if we go into Street View, we can go down into this one here where they're inside the reception. Now, if you turn and look out the window, you can see that there's some different vehicles here. There's a taxi here, which of course we can't really see any kind of license plate. But if you go down here to the left, there is a taxi here, and you can actually see the license plate and it is not blurred out. So that is plenty enough for us to be able to read what that license plate is. So that is the answer for this question. So now for challenge 3, we can take the license plate, and it's asking us to go out and find what the mileage was for this vehicle in October 2017. Now, for many people who maybe aren't in the United Kingdom especially, this challenge actually might have been a bit more difficult because they aren't as aware of what resources we have here to accomplish something like that. But for many people in the UK, we will have come across things like this just through our everyday use of these various systems. For example, what we need here is something to check our MOT and find the history of that, because those MOT histories often will show you what the mileage of the vehicle was at the time of their test. So if we go to Google and run a search for something like DVLA MOT check, we get various results. So there's one where you can check the status of the MOT, but what we want is checking the MOT history of a vehicle. So if we go into this, start now, and we can enter the license plate that we've got. That says that the vehicle's MOT has expired. That's okay. And then you go down to MOT history, and this actually shows us all of the passes and fails for their MOT tests. So if we go back to the date it mentioned to us, which is October 2017, we have one where they failed and one where they passed. But both of them have the same mileage regardless. So that is 249,278. We can simply take that number, come back to the challenge, put in OSINT UK, and just make sure that you take out the punctuation there. And again, we give these answer formats so that you can see exactly how it generally should look. Submit. So now on to challenge number 4, the key source. This now kind of moves past the vehicle and tells us that the cryptanalysts have managed to bypass the encryption and get a final folder from Asset Echo's drive. So they've now found some kind of text file, and we need a key to actually decode the cipher that that person has left. So we've got some intelligence to tell us where that key phrase is going to be. And all we have to do is look up the Hackney Today for this particular date and then head on over to page 8. And there should be some kind of key phrase that would stick out to us, and that is going to be used as the key for the next challenge. So all we actually have to do here, search for the Hackney Today. I'm going to copy this date, and there's various different ways you can do this. I know that lots of people simply went to Google, searched for this, and you can easily find it there. I initially intended for people to use the Wayback Machine, but again, there's many different ways to solve all of these challenges, and all of them completely fine as long as you get that result. So if you go down here, go to this search, I'm going to search for the Hackney Today with this particular date, and we get one single result. That's something to bear in mind, by the way. Lots of people know about the Wayback Machine for the, trillions of websites, but actually they have loads and loads of different files of various kinds, whether it's videos, publications, loads of stuff to play around with. So now that we have this open, we can go over to page number 8, and we can see this key phrase at the top of page number 8, what goes around comes around. So that is going to be used as our key for the next question, and it is the answer to this current question. There you go, so we get that correct. Now we're on to the final question, the final transmission. So we now have that key that we found in our previous question, and we're now given this encrypted ciphertext. So we are now going to have to find what kind of ciphers are there that use a key, because we of course had to find that key first. So we're not going to be looking for a cipher that doesn't even require a key. So what options are there? And that will usually take you to this particular cipher that we have here. And usually this is the first result that comes up. Hopefully this was a bit more difficult for some people and you had to maybe experiment, but for most people, I think this was the first option that came up. So there's loads and loads of different websites out there that you can use to decode and encode these kinds of ciphers, but this is just one example website that I will show. So we can switch it to decode, go ahead and grab the ciphertext, put that into the ciphertext box here. And now you can see currently that does not decode into anything. That's because we don't have the correct key put into this. So now if you start to put the right key in, we can now see that the plain text has been converted to say asset compromised abort. So that is our final answer. OSINT UK, assets compromised abort, and we have that correct and all of the challenges are now solved. So that is it for this walkthrough. Let us know in the comments how you did and if you have any additional questions. Also, you're welcome to attend these walkthroughs live in our Discord, since we do those sessions every Saturday at 5 p.m. UK time. You can go to osint.uk/Discord to join that and register your interest. You can bring any of your OSINT related questions, since we do a Q&A session at the end of those as well. So keep an eye out for all of our future ones. We release new challenges every week, and I will see you in the next video.